All right, welcome everybody. I'm doing a special live because I ran into something as I was going through some old boxes that it gave me a physical and a mental reaction, emotional reaction. And what I ran into was this video, Your Future is Calling, from ACN. Look at it, VHS tape. Generations, VHS tape. And this just goes to show I've been in this game for a very, very long time. It seems like yesterday. I'm 45 years old. I got started when I was 22. So 23 going on 24 years. I was a senior at Morehouse College, and you have to understand, the greatest gift that I was able to give myself wasn't making millions of dollars and doing 100 million in sales in my career or any of that kind of stuff. What has been one of the biggest or the biggest impact on my professional life was the day I fired my boss and I walked off my job 9 years ago. It'll be 10 years next summer. And I shared that story already on my Crypto Talk this morning. What led me up to that, and I'll briefly talk about it again, because a lot of people always want to floss and they want to highlight how much money they're making today and the success that they're having today, and you got to be a part of their business so that you can be like them today. But what you really don't normally hear about is what they went through to get there, or day one. How did it all begin? We all had a day one. We all had a beginning. There was a time before I was Bitcoin Brandon. There was a time before I was the business mindset coach. There was a time before I was any top producer in the industry or anything like that. There was a time where I struggled hard. In fact, I struggled for 10 years before I had any major success. I just never quit. Just kept moving forward. Took a couple pauses in between, but I always came back and just kept moving forward until I figured it out. But I remember my day one, and it was completely different from anything that I was taught, because we're taught in school, in our life growing up, that if you want to have financial freedom, there's a couple of things that you must do. And that's go to school, get good grades, and get a good, safe, secure job, a job that will take care of you for the rest of your life. And I followed that. In my senior year at Morehouse College, a couple of months before I graduated, there was a program to match college students about to graduate into corporate America, especially through our connections and our alumni association and all that kind of stuff. And I was able to get a gig working for a firm in Savannah, Georgia, and they were going to pay me $28,000 starting from graduation. Now, that may not seem like a lot of money to you right now, but this was 1998. And $28,000 to a college student that's just graduating, that doesn't have a family or any expenses. I mean, I thought I hit the jackpot at that time. It's just beginning my career, and the way the program was set up, after about a year, I would be bumped up to that $40,000 to $45,000 a year range, and then keep climbing. After 5 years, you know what you would be at. So I thought everything was good. I was doing everything in plan, and that entire division was got laid off, which meant my job that I was about to have, I got laid off before I even got started. And I quickly realized that dream that they were teaching us, that you got to go to school, you got to do these things, while admirable and it works for a few, does not work for the masses. In fact, you got to be honest with yourself and ask yourself this question: how many people do you know personally that has followed that example, and then you fast forward to where we are today, and they're done? I mean, they're just wildly successful, and they're done. They there's no debt, the mortgage is paid, and they're living the life. Statistically, that only happens 1 out of every 100 people, statistically. I know one person personally that this has happened for, and it is the person that has had the greatest influence on my life, and that's my father. My father, Gilbert Ivey. He worked for the same company for more than 40 years. How many of you guys ever worked for the same company more than 10? More than 40 years. And it was a company that had a hiring policy against minorities, a hiring policy against blacks. The only thing he was able to do for a summer gig with that company was wash the company cars and drive company execs around town. That was it. He broke the barrier. But he not just broke the barrier, he shattered it and went on to become what's called general manager, which you might know as CEO of that company in his career. Going from washing the company car to CEO of the largest water firm in the nation, Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. I couldn't be more proud and honored to be the son of Gilbert Ivey and all he's provided for me, my brother, and our family, our way of life, all of the things we grew up with, the lessons that we've learned, the men that we are today because of him. However, that doesn't mean that I would be able to follow the same suit in my life, the same path that he took, because it's a different era, it's a different generation. Times are changing, the economy is different, things have changed. So I made a decision that I must do something different. And I went to a presentation of a good friend of mine, name is Robert Brown. This is before I was Bitcoin Brandon, before business mindset coach, before any of that stuff. And Robert Brown, it was a evening, I think it was maybe a Thursday night, and it was cold as all hell. There was snow on the ground in Atlanta, Georgia. And he had this two-door, I don't even remember what you call it. It wasn't like a real major four-seater. And he fit 5 people in this car. And we were, bunched up the back of the window. And we went to a meeting down in College Park by the airport for a company called ACN. And when I went in, I remember seeing a bunch of people wearing suits, ties on the middle of the week. They looked like money. Their conversations were different because this was one of in the Atlanta office, it was Sam Oram, regional vice president. He shared it with a couple of other RVPs, and they were making money. And so I could tell these people had some money. And I remember we sat down, and before anything started, they played a video. And the video they played was this: "Your future is calling" video. And my mind went, the opportunity. I was like, whoa, how come we were never taught this stuff? And they did the presentation, and then afterwards, Rob introduced his guests to, the VIPs in the room, which was Sam Oram. And Sam, I remember, he was running a promotion at the time. Anybody that got, I think it was 10 or 20 customers, he was giving them like $100 bonus. And I remember seeing all these other guys, a little bit older than me, around him in a circle, and he's pulling out, he's giving hundreds. I'm like, what's he giving money for? And because at the time, to be qualified, you had to have 20 personal customers, not just sign up, pay you $500, but you had to get customers. So he had a promotion, anybody that knocked out customers, he was giving an extra $100 bonus to. And the way they did this, we're college students. It cost $500 to get started. Ain't nobody had $500, but at that time, there was this program, even with college kids that had no credit, that you can get a debit card, a credit card, with a $500 limit on it. And so they said, you just register for this credit card, pay the $500, and then if you hit, what was it? I think you had to enroll 3 people in your first 30 days and get 20 customers, and you would get a refund of $500 back. And you use that to pay off the credit card. So that's kind of like the hustle that was being done at that time. Get these people in, we get them a $500 credit card, they use that to pay. We show them how to get 20 customers in their first 30 days, They get the $500 back. They pay the credit card, and we're now in the business for free because there was no monthly auto ship. And that was how we did it at that time. And I remember when I was sitting in front of, am I still live? Yeah. When I was sitting in that room and I got introduced to Sam, I met him, and he had a little private team meeting with his group. And I remember he pulled out a check, and the check was for $10,000 for the week. It was a bonus check. It was a bonus check. And my eyes were so big. $10,000 today is a lot of money to make for the week. But this is 1998. College kid, broke as a joke. $10,000 for the week. Again, my head went. And I remember I ordered my kit, paid that $500, and back then you got a welcome kit. And then in the welcome package, I got my very own video. I wonder if this is the exact same one. I don't know. I don't have a VHS machine, so I can't pop this in there to take a look at it. But I had this in storage all this time. And I've watched this video over and over and over and over. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this video. And people that I knew, I would have them come over to the house. Wow, you got to watch this video. You got to watch this video. Ain't nobody really signed up. Maybe a couple people. And then I got so excited, I hit, where is it? Am I sitting on it? Oh, my pocket. I hit this position within the company. See that? ETT. Back then, it was called Team Trainer, I think. TT. This is Executive Team Trainer. And I hit that position, and I was so proud to put on my suit and put my pin on and walk into the meetings with my little ETT badge. And I just remember being so excited and so happy and so full of hope and dreaming on where the future is going to be. Now, I wish I could say that I just blew up and started having all this success. And that's not what happened. I hardly made any real money. I made some money, not enough to be able to support myself as its own source of income. But I made money that I could buy some things with. I could pay for my trips to the conventions, stuff like that. Pay a couple of bills with, a couple $1,000 weeks in here and there. And I was excited that Glenda Lawrence is on here. At the time, I remember Glenda she got recognized. She did 1,000 in 1 week or so. And they had her up front of the room to talk about that. And I know a lot of people from those days. In fact, some of the best friendships that I still have in the industry today came from my time with ACN. All of the training, everything that I know today that's made me what I am, I learned from that training. It's not necessarily the company. The company provided an opportunity for the leaders to build a culture, but it was the leaders in that company that molded me and my generation. If you look at any of the top leaders of companies today, they came out of maybe 3 organizations. I'm not going to go back as far as Amway. A.L. Williams, Excel, and ACN. A.L. Williams of the 80s, Excel and ACN of the 90s. And we can all trace our lineage. Even if when you look at personal development and you hear about Napoleon Hill and when he wrote Think and Grow Rich, but then you look at the next generation of personal development guys after him. Well, it was Earl Nightingale, and then Earl Nightingale came up with his Nightingale Foundation that you had Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor. They all came from that group that learned from Earl Nightingale, who learned from Napoleon Hill. Same in this industry. You go back to A.L. Williams, then the leaders who taught me learned under A.L. Williams. Then those guys like Montrell Jackson, Sam Orem, Chris Oliver, Mike Ashby, Byron Nelson, Dora Chambers, Pasha Oliver, Oren Solomon, Larry Raskin, Delzino Wilson Debriano. I mean, I can name probably 20 to 25 leaders in the 90s that, and a lot of them still around now, Gene Flynn and Harry Flynn, the brothers, and RIP to Harry, passed away last year. But I can name all of them, and I can still remember all of their stories, which is one of my point of this live. When people ask me what's the secret, there's a lot. But when it comes down to one universal thing that every successful person in this industry has mastered, and that's their ability to share their story, not sell a product, not sell a business, not sell a compensation plan, but sell their story and tell their story. And because of this, I'm going to share one of the most impactful skills that I was taught from that group of leaders. It was really, I learned it from Chris Oliver and Steve Carter that I learned it from. It's called the Feel, Felt, Found method. We're going to come back to that in a second. That skill that I do now subconsciously. I don't even realize that I do it. Before, I remember when I was doing it consciously, I remember I've got to do these steps, but now I don't even think about it. And the evolution of where we went from, I went 10 years, I couldn't sign up a single person. I couldn't make money. And I was frustrated. I was frustrated as all hell. I'm like, I'm doing everything that they're telling me to do. And you know what they did? Make a list of everybody that you know. Let's get on the phone and start calling them up, friends and family. Right, who's on your chicken list? First and foremost, that's all BS. I can say that today. But that's all we knew back then. Make a list of everybody that you know and start calling them and cold calling them. I remember I live in Laverne, California, and there's the closest mall is called the Montclair Mall. And I remember putting on a suit, going down to the mall, going to the food court. I had a professional folder. I had a briefcase. I had my folder out on the table, and I had a bunch of ACN brochures sitting on the table. I'm in the food court, and I was 22, 23, and I wasn't married yet or anything, and I knew I looked good, and I was flirting with the girls walking by, and I'm like, hey, come on over here, come sit down, chat with me. And I'm trying to talk about the business, and people are trying to eat their food. And I remember doing that. I remember doing everything I could. I remember going door to door before passing out flyers. I remember my very first PBR, private business reception, and they taught me how to do it. This was my biggest wake-up call, because I thought I was big man on campus at Morehouse. I'm a big-time senior. I'm vice president of the Young Democrats. I'm doing this and that. I was on the junior class, secretary. And I remember they said, Brandon, you need to have to jumpstart your business, you got to have a private business reception. So and all that meant was there was no Zooms like we have today. There really wasn't even conference calls. Like I don't even think people do that anymore, it's Zooms. But we had invited people over to our spot. And I said, I can pull, half of Morehouse, right? And the AUC. And they said, Brandon, this is all you need to do. Make a list of people. And then we're going to do on a 3-way call and personally invite them over. And we're going to do it, and we're going to help you out. And I was like, this is when I was not coachable. I was like, no, I don't need to do none of that. All I need to do is invite people, and they're going to show up. And they're like, no. It was Daniel Shorter, Victor Huff, and Robert Brown. Those were my upline. Robert brought me in. Daniel brought Robert in. Victor brought Daniel in. and Victor was underneath Sam Morehouse somewhere around there. And then Sam's underneath Montrell Jackson. And so, Montrell was part of Delzino Wilson Debriano. So that's the lineage. Chris Oliver was part of a different leg underneath Sam Morehouse. Steve Carter was a part of something completely different out of Chicago with James Dentley. No, he wasn't even in James Dentley's downline, but they worked together. And Byron Nelson was a Morehouse man based out of LA. So when I came to LA, I worked out of his office on Century Boulevard. And this is 20 plus years ago. And I remember this like yesterday. But they said, you need to have your own meeting. And I'm like, you don't know who I am. Rob, you know who I am. You go to Morehouse. You ran track with me. I know everybody. All I need to tell them, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a party that night. But before the party, I'm going to do the meeting. So if you want to go to the party, you got to come to the meeting first. And they said, okay, well, you think you're going to do it your way. It ain't going to work, but you got to learn the hard way. All you need is water. Hell no. I rented chairs. I had catering done. And I had some girls from the AUC, Spelman and Clark, running around campus, posting flyers. They said, don't do flyers. I had flyers made. I had them posting flyers up all over the AUC, right? Saying that there's going to be a big party at Brandon's spot. We're going to have a business meeting. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm dealing with college students about to graduate, and we all want to make some money. We love to party. We want to make some money. I'm going to have a bunch of girls there. This is going to be it. I'm going to blow this thing up. I thought this was going to be the easiest thing in the world. First presentation at my house. You know who showed up? My sponsor, Robert. The guy that was doing the presentation, Victor Huff. It was Upline. He was a team coordinator. My roommate, she lived upstairs, and one of my friends who was just there helping me to set up for the party. So we had about 5 people for my first presentation. And this is where I had my first big challenge. And it was also fork in the road, because I could have went either way. I originally thought, well, damn, if I can't get my own peers, college students that need to make some money, if I can't get them to sit down to see a presentation, how in the world am I going to be able to build this thing? And I had an option: quit, or actually listen to what my upline was saying, learn from them to build. And I briefly thought about quitting, because the people who were supposed to show up for the meeting, they all came for the party. 10 o'clock at night, my house was full. Everybody, hey, where were y'all earlier for the meeting? Oh, yeah, we'll come to the next one. We'll do the next one. Well, can you tell us about it? Blah, blah, blah. They came to the party. That's what I learned about human nature and people. They came to the party, but they didn't want to hear about the business. And my ego, since my first major challenge in my life up to that point, I never really failed at anything before. I've always excelled up to that point at everything that I did, from high school, from track. I was the number 2 in the state of California, CIF, and basketball, and school, honor roll. Up to that point, and I realized my oldest son right now is 22 years old. So he's the same age I was at this time. And I see, how he thinks and things. He's still a kid. And I was a kid. And my ego wouldn't allow me to quit. My ego said, you're a Morehouse man. You're going to quit on a business because things didn't work out for you the first time around. You might as well, you ain't going to go very far. So my ego wouldn't allow me to quit. But it took 10 years before the aha moment went off in my head, and I figured it out. And I also know all that other crap I was being taught as far as how to build your business was BS. Not that it's bad, but you're only going to get a certain amount of results. And I learned certain skills on how to market, how to brand, to the point where I went through evolutions. I started to become a very good recruiter. But then I learned people like to buy, they don't like to be sold. So I stopped recruiting, yet I still would always be the top recruiter. Then I learned how to become a leader, where if you have a good enough reputation and you help people make some money, and if there's a new opportunity that comes around, you might have some people that want to be involved in it because you're involved. I started to market and brand myself. I started learning the internet, and I started learning how to make YouTube videos and how to put my business out there, not for friends and family, but for new eyeballs to see. You are going to go much, much farther with people you don't know than you ever will with your friends and family when it comes to business. It's just a fact. There's nothing negative against that. It's just how it is. The biggest thing that I learned that I'm not going to talk about today is the secrets, the laws of the universe, the law of attraction. That's for another day. And I've got plenty of videos already on YouTube that cover all of that. I just want to I'm scratching the surface here because this touched me when I saw it. And to the point now where I consider myself an influencer, not a recruiter, not a builder, but an influencer. I will never make a cold call. I will never go in anybody's inbox promoting a business or an opportunity. Hey, you got to take a look at this. We're going to make some money. You got to come with me. Hey, we're about to do this. I'd never, anybody that's on my team that I'm your sponsor, you know, how did I become your sponsor? Did I go into your inbox and say, you got to do this? Did I pick up the phone and call you? No. I do things a certain way. And again, that's for another live, or I've done so many about this if you just look me up. I do things in a certain way. And to the point now I'm on the crypto. And once you learn certain skill sets, it doesn't matter what you do. You're always going to have success in that field because you're doing things a certain way. It's if you ever read the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. And in it, he says, it's not the fact that you're doing things, it's doing things in a certain way. And that's how I operate. I do things in a certain way, to where I was so excited about my mentor making $10,000 a week that I just helped somebody on our team do $60,000 in less than 3 weeks. You know, so I feel truly blessed. It's been a hell of a ride and a hell of a journey to get to where we are today. There's still so much more to accomplish. I want to give thanks to ACN for being, and this video has nothing to do about personal development. There's no words of wisdom. Like people say, you got to read Think and Grow Rich. You got to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Your Wish is Your Command. The Science of Getting Rich. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Napoleon Hill stuff, or James C. Maxwell. You want to be a leader? No. It has none of that. This is just an opportunity video about a company that got me started. This is the beginning of the last 23 years to where I am now. Now, I will leave, and I'm not going to leave you hanging, the skill that I learned called the Feel, Felt, Found. And I'm going to end by sharing this. You can go on YouTube, because I did this the other day. I have a video that I made 11 years ago about Feel, Felt, Found. And I've done many since then, but there is a lot of videos from other sales professionals and other fields. It's called the Feel, Felt, Found. So I have no idea how old this strategy is, who started it. I would think this is centuries, thousands of years old, this concept, because it's a law. And some people may be doing this without even realizing that there's a name to it. Now I do it automatically. It's like when Oprah learned about The Secret, and she was like, I've been doing that since 1978. I didn't know that was called The Secret. So you might be doing it and not realizing it. But a lot of people don't. We start off by this. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you use it in that proportion, you'll become wealthy. The ability to listen to people. Another time I'll talk about that goes kind of hand in hand with this is the 4 personality traits that I learned. A lot of people learned it in colors. I learned it in fish, whale, shark, dolphin, and urchin. So knowing that also helps with the feel, felt, found, because when I only need 45 seconds to a minute in a conversation with somebody, and I can kind of figure out what their personality trait is. And based on that, I already have a mental image of what their life is. Especially if you're working a 9-to-5 job and I know your personality trait, I already know what your life is looking like without you having to tell me. It's not that I'm psychic or anything like that. It's statistics. It's statistics. Give me your age, what you do for a living, and I pretty much have a good idea where your financial standing is, what your bank account looks like, where you currently live, what your spending habits are, and what your desire may be. I already know this before we even really get into who you are. So that's another skill set. So the feel, felt, found method works like this. If you're trying to recruit for your business, and this is the mistake people make. If they don't already go into somebody's inbox, hey, you got to look at my business. You got to sign up with me. You got to do this, this, this. We're making so much money. You're stupid if you don't do it. Everybody's doing it. You're the only one out. That's how most people recruit. And then people sign up because of fear of loss. And then when they don't have success, like they were promised, they jump ship to another opportunity from somebody else promising the same thing, instead of actually learning the skills necessary to have success. You know, the grass will always be green where you're watering it. You can show me the worst company out there and I'll show you somebody making 6 figures. You can show me the best company and I'll show you somebody that's broke. It has nothing to do with the company outside the CEO's ability to keep the wheels on the train. That's a whole other story. But you got to be able to relate to people, listen to them. So how I do it when I'm talking to somebody that might be a potential business partner, and in my world, everybody's a potential business partner. If you're breathing, you're a potential business partner, especially since I'm in crypto. Everybody needs this and what I'm offering, crypto education. So I started, hey, how are you doing? How's life treating you? Are you reaching some of your goals? The trick question is when I say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's what I'm really getting into them. And the thing about people, especially social media, everybody wants to have their best foot forward. Everybody wants to act as if the shit they're doing is the greatest ever, and life is so grand. And look at my social media page, and I'm smiling. I'm using filters. I'm having the time of my life. Well, all is good. When that's fake. There's nothing real to that. And one thing that I learned with people, when you talk to them, most people never listen. So when they realize you're listening to them, the blockade, the lie that they want you to see starts to melt away. And the longer they talk, the more truth comes out. Oh man, things could be better, man. I wish I could make some more money, man. Man, I had this happen, man. I hate my boss, man. My boss is on my butt. And the truth starts to filter through. This is why lawyers tell you if you ever get arrested, shut up. Don't say nothing to the police without your lawyer present. Because the more you talk, the more you're going to incriminate yourself. The more information you're going to share that you shouldn't share, because they will use it against you, even if you have the best intentions. It's a law. Let somebody talk. You're going to hear it. They're going to tell you their life freaking story if you're listening, because they're not used to people listening. When 2 people talk, one person's speaking, the other person's waiting for that person to shut up so that they can speak. So you're talking at each other. You're not listening. So develop the habit of being able to listen. Listen to what they're saying, to what their problems are. Now, this is where the trick comes in. You understand what they're saying. You can have empathy to what they're saying. You can relate to what they're saying. You know what, man? I know exactly what you're going through. I remember that time I got laid off from my job, and I came home. I looked in the mirror. I got a college degree. How am I supposed to talk to my wife? How am I going to provide for my family? I did everything I was supposed to do, yet I'm still in this situation. That's frustrating. That's stressful. That's depressing. You get a lot high anxiety. I couldn't sleep at night. I know exactly how you feel. Man, I feel your pain. Pat him on the shoulder. I understand what you're going through. I felt the same way. Or even if I can't relate, I understand what you're going through because I know people who's been in that same situation as you. Your story sounds familiar. You're not alone. Don't think that you're going through these issues by yourself. You're not. Many people before you have gone through this. Many people are going through it right now, just as you are. And many people in the future is going to go through what you're going through right now. But here's what I found out. I decided to have a mental shift. I decided that I needed to do something different. I needed to think a different way for me to be able to get different results in. I decided to become an entrepreneur. I decided to get into this crypto thing. I decided to teach myself and learn it. Man, I only had $30 when I first got started. I flipped that into six figures in a couple of months. And I am so happy with where we are right now. I'm got my own crypto education company that's launching. You know, I get to travel the world and have freedom again. I walked off my job, and man, I'm here to tell you, you know, there's a way out. I found a way out. Now, what the other person is doing, here's what I did not do. And this is also a mistake that people make because they only do part of this. They listen half-heartedly. They say they feel your pain. I understand what you're going through. And then they say, here's what you need to do. Man, you need to get into this business. You need to get into what I'm doing so that you can make money like me. Blah, 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 blah. You start throwing up and their barrier wall comes right back up again because they've heard that before. It's impossible for you to be on social media and not to be exposed to something. Scams, legitimate, money-making opportunities, whatever you have, it's all out there. They've seen it all. They've been approached by it all. And here you are doing the same thing. And you fail. Instead, remember I said earlier, people like to buy. They don't like to be sold. So instead, you share with them that you found a way out. You know others that were in the same situation and they found a way out. And then I always say, man, keep your head up, man, keep moving forward. You know what they always do? 9 times out of 10. And it's 10 out of 10 later, but immediately, 9 times out of 10, what is it that you're doing? Because in their mind, they're like, man, if he found a way out, maybe his way out could be my way out. He ain't no better than me. In fact, I'm better than him. Screw Brandon, I'm big time. If he could do it, I know I can. You know how people are. And so I'm glad you asked that question. Let me show you how I did what I did. You see that? Let me show you how I did what I did. I'm glad you asked. I didn't throw it down your throat. But let me show you how I did what I did. Maybe it could be for you. Maybe. It might not be. But I'll show you what I did. You mastered that skill. You will never have, as long as you're talking to people. If you're on the introvert side and you don't want to ever be exposed to any new people, you don't want to ever interact with new people, then this ain't gonna work for you. But if you're at least putting yourself in front of people and you have this skill set when you're having a conversation, you will always win. You will always win. It's just the question is, how many people can you get yourself in front of? And that's when marketing comes into place. Learning how to market yourself, learning how to brand yourself, learning how to put yourself out there. Where I don't normally do these one-on-ones anymore. I do it in a group by going live. Because now I've painted a picture of society that I can do a live talking about a certain situation and people listening think I'm talking directly to them. Man, Brandon, man, you was speaking to me. Really? I don't know your story. But the thing about it is, most people's stories are similar. There's only if I was a computer algorithm, this is why algorithms are so great on or are so powerful on Facebook and marketing, because when you can profile somebody and you can profile a story, there's probably 5 million people out there with the same story. You just got to get yourself in front of that many people. So that is the feel, felt, sound method. In short, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I felt the same way you did, or I know somebody who felt the same way you did. But what I found out was that if I did this, I have a different result. Feel, felt, found, or feel, felt, found. And you do this on a subconscious level, because then you're able to switch it up, change it up on the fly with whoever you're speaking to, the audience you're with, the group you're with. I love doing live events. Anybody that's seen me do a live event is completely different energy than me sitting on a Zoom, because I can't feel your energy. I can't feed off the crowd. I can't see facial expressions. But in a live audience, I'm deadly. Because I can read body language. I can tell when somebody's getting it or somebody's not, and how I need to change up. I can connect energy and go to your energy level and bring you up. It's a whole other thing. So I just wanted to be able to share this part of the story that I don't normally always do. I had a beginning. This was my beginning. This changed everything to where I am now, dealing with Bitcoin and crypto and launching my own company and being a consultant and all those things. Being able to adapt to the changing times. And in the process, how many people can we help at the same time? So that's all I wanted to share. This was it back in the day. Thank you, ACN, for getting this started, opening the door. And thank you to all of my old mentors for the impact that you had on my life. And some of them, it's funny when I talk to them today, like I was talking to Montrell Jackson and Steve Carter the other day. And I remember when I was in Chicago, and Bernard Lee, Doc Lee, and James Dentley, telling them the type of, thank you for the impact you had on me. And I'm able to remember stories that they long forgot about. And a lot of them don't even remember me from those days. They might remember this kid running around as part of Sam's group, but they know who I am now. But back then, they didn't know who I was, but I knew who they were, and I watched and followed closely. I remember all of their stories. So I want to thank them for the impact that they had, and that I can hope that I can turn around and have that type of impact and pay it forward for the next generation. And I will end by saying this: I also need some of your guys' help. If I have impacted your life in any type of way, through crypto talk, through networking, especially on the crypto side, Bitcoin education and whatnot, I would love to have your testimonials, because it's going to be on my new brand next year, my new company. So if you guys have any testimonials, you can do it in video form or written. If you write it out, please send a picture of yourself and your name and where you're from. So because I got people all over the world that we're collecting all of this data and information for the launch of our deal. So with that, thank you guys for listening. I might have been ranting for a bit, but it's rare that I do this, and I just wanted to speak from my heart, show my gratitude. I'm thankful for all of the successes, obviously, but I'm even more thankful for all the challenges, all the setbacks, all the sleepless nights, the people that said no, the people that didn't believe in you, the times I've got cheated, the times I've got scammed. I'm thankful for all of that, because it taught me and learned so I can elevate to the next level to get to where I am now. I'm not afraid of failure or challenges. In fact, I never look at anything as a failure. It's just a challenge. Isn't that interesting? What can I learn from this? How can I turn this challenge into a profit? So I'm grateful for learning those skills. And we ain't finished yet. We're not even finished yet. And in my eyes, we're just getting started. So, all right, everybody. Bitcoin Brandon out. I will see you next time. You'll start seeing my face and me doing more lives more and more as we're getting ready for the new year. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.